last time you were here, since the last time you were here, I actually joined the board, which I don't, really talk about things that I do too much outside of here, but I was inspired. I had a guest on talking about a program that gets young Black children, young Black kids in front of corporations, and they put them into these corporations as interns. And I was so inspired that, when I talked with the person that's running it and a few others, they invited me to sit on the board. So I'm now sitting on the board of Inroads, and they told me that you are an Inroads alum. Talk about that
Absolutely.
experience, because I'm going to be talking about education. There's so many corporations now throwing money at Black things. It's like the this is my checkbox. Okay, I'm not racist. Here's $1 million. I'm not racist. Here's $10 million. But there have been organizations doing the work quietly, um, and it's a shame that it's been quiet for more than a decade. And you actually came through one of those organizations. Talk about how you even interacted with Inroads and
Absolutely. Yeah, Inroads is an organization that gives students, high school students, an opportunity to get into corporate America. And then once they graduate from high school, really they get to have potentially an internship with a Fortune 500 company or a corporation. Um, I found out about Inroads when I was uh, senior in high school. I had the chance to go to their every week they had um, an information session, a educational session where they teach you about etiquette and corporate etiquette and and the way that you can interview better, the way that you can build your resume better. And they set us up with interviews with corporations. So I put together a resume with their help, and I interviewed based, with their training in front of maybe 5 different companies, and I landed a corporate internship for the summer that I got out of high school, and I was able to maintain that relationship with that company for 4 summers. This was Ernst and Young, one of the biggest accounting firms in the world, and they had a consulting sector that brought me in as an intern for 4 summers in a row. And this is a paid internship. So these aren't just come and sweat and give us all your talent and then go home and have nothing to show for it. And I was able to learn a lot about business, a lot about the corporate environment, just through these summer internships. When I graduated from university, I was able to walk pretty much straight into a full-time job.
you ended up working at Ernst and Young
I ended
after
up
after
working at Ernst
college.
and Young for a couple
Yeah.
years.
Because last time we were here, we were talking about that, that's quite a shift from being in that. But you think about these things, and I'm talking a lot on these airwaves about building the world that we want to live in. And there are people on the ground doing the work to set us up to win, right?
Mhm.
And we just need to first magnify the message, but also, empower more people to know about these organizations so that more of our kids can get involved. So, how did that change your life or change the trajectory of your life?
Well, the big thing about it was that it gave me a sense of purpose. Like I knew that I went to university, I had this endurance and discipline that I'd learned from being a student in college. I'd had some understanding about business from my internships, and now I've got a job that's going to set me up financially and socially. My network started to grow in terms of the people that I knew and the industries that I started to understand. As a consultant, you go into different companies to help their businesses become better. I got a chance to work within insurance companies, hospitals, engineering organizations, and it really opened my eyes to see what is available and what's possible. I think the biggest thing was while I was still an intern, I was getting phone calls from headhunters, and I didn't know what that whole world was about. But then I understood, okay, there's value in what I do, and somebody's going to want to offer me a little bit more to bring my talents over to their company. So all of that was really, really eye-opening. It taught me a lot about business and leadership and the people that I worked with and the project teams that I worked with, project management software, load testing for software uh, development and builds, like making sure that if you're building software, it doesn't crash when it goes from 10,000 users to 100,000 users. These kinds of things that you don't really process as a student in high school that this world doesn't make sense, but now I was ready for it after college. And now as a businessman myself, of course, I run my own business as an artist. Um, I have this in my background. So when I'm working with friends who want to build apps, I have a concept of in technology. What is your testing process and your building process and your project management process? I think it's helped inform what I do, even though what I do is largely creative. It helped inform a lot of the business of what I do.
And I don't like that even though, because as you know, we were talking today, I think we've been conditioned to think of the world in these little boxes, these little tiny
Mm,
boxes. And you go
mhm.
from this grade to this grade, you learn this, and then you learn this, and then you learn this. But we're holistic, we're human beings, right? And we don't
Absolutely.
learn just, I don't just know math or science, but math, science speak to one another, literature, music, art, it's all a collective. And I feel like we've taught young people that they can only be one thing. You know, we even have that jack of all trades, master of none, as if there's something wrong with being able to explore all aspects of who you are as a
Mm,
person. We are by nature creative. Like it is part of creation that we are here. So, like, yeah, of course, you should be exploring music and math and science and art all at the same time. And it's good that you take those skills because as it relates to business, so many of our young people get into show business and forget the business part and end up broke and end up, having their managers and other agents make way more money than they do, cutting bad deals because they didn't put the time into the foundation of what this business is all about, which is money. So
you've got to
you learn
understand the
that
business.
early.
You've got to understand the business, and in this business, it does serve you to be um, well versed in all aspects of the industry. And I learned that from my dad. You know, he is a plumber, a carpenter, an electrician. He's a firefighter. He's a welder. He's a mathematician, and uh, 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 he's basically done everything. Like I've learned everything, and an English teacher. That's what I was trying to get because he comes from Panama. Spanish and English were both his first languages, but he was able to become an English professor while he was in Panama before he moved to the U.S. And so I learned from him like anything's possible, and if you want something, you can basically make it. You can build it yourself. And this is one of the things I'm teaching my kids. Like every night before we put them to bed, we read them stories from the books. But then once we put the books away, the lights go out and we sit with them. We tell them stories that we create extemporaneously, that we just make up. And sometimes we invite them to participate in determining, characteristics within the story. And right now, I'm in the process of creating a children's book based on a story that was made up completely in the room with the kids so they can see that we are creators, we are producers. We don't just consume other people's ideas and we don't just live at the mercy of what else is out there on the shelf. We are people who can put something on the shelf. And I think that's something that's it stuck with me coming from my dad. So I'm trying to, build that into the relationship I have with my kids.
I think your wife Maya was pregnant the last time. So you have Mandela
We have
and you have
Mandela.
now
We have a son
and
named Satya.
Satya. What is Satya? What's the origin of that name?
It's a Sanskrit word which means truth. Um, so Nelson Mandela was inspired um, by the concept of nonviolent resistance in the same way that Martin Luther King was inspired by this concept of nonviolent resistance, which was popularized by Mahatma Gandhi. But he used the term satyagraha to better describe what he felt was not necessarily nonviolent resistance. He says, "Oh yeah, we're fighting here, and there is a resistance, but we're using the force of truth." And satya means truth, so satyagraha is the force of truth. And so we named our son after this principle.